So first, this is Mark Pittman as host. Welcome. This is a session on Google Plus for nonprofits. The rule of most social media conferences have the rule of 2 feet. You have 2 feet. If you're not getting what you want out of the session, use your 2 feet to leave. Otherwise, I'd love to have you stay anyway because I try to be entertaining, so I hope it'll be good. I know it'll be good. The after party, there, Amber Naslund is speaking right after us, behind us. As a keynote. There's a after party at 8 at the Icon LA Lounge right across the street. I'm not sure what street, but the notes said just across the street. If you tweet from here, it would be helpful if you could use the Buikaz as well as Voila hashtags, because one of the things we're trying to show for Blog World is that nonprofits and causes are a critical mass that we want to keep growing and nurturing this track, so that maybe we don't have it as two competing sessions against each other. So that maybe we can have it as one full track, 8 sessions, one after the other. And lastly, over here, the reason Kobe Bryant is here is that the cause track is working together with the LA United Way, the United Way here in town. Mark Horvath from Invisible People is doing a special, I think it's a sock drop. I was calling it an underwear drop earlier, but I think it's actually a sock drop with Hanes tomorrow, I think around 11. And you could just go to their booth. They're going to have a booth in the exhibit hall. And there's some other things for donations and other things that we're trying to do to help generate awareness with the crowd here about the good work they're doing with homelessness. And finally, by way of housekeeping, the whole cause track was sponsored by a company that I happen to be founding called 501 Mission Place. Rob Hatch, John Hayden, and myself seen enough of our nonprofit colleagues get burnt out and fried and doing the good work that we do. So we created an online mission place. Sorry, dude. I'm finishing the introduction right now. This is the guy that just blew me off. This is John Hayden. Round of applause, everyone. Yeah. Unfollow me, whip me, beat me, take away my charge cards, take away my hair mousse. So the 501 Mission Place exists for helping nurture relationships that will help people take care of themselves and get the good advice, advisory council stuff that they need when they don't feel like they can ask their board because the board is saying, well, that's what we hired you for, and they can't necessarily ask their employees because the employees are saying, well, you're my boss, you should know this. So that's what we do. Great. Now I'm taking off my host hat. And hi, I'm Mark. I'm glad to be here. I'm personally the founder of fundraisingcoach.com. I try to make it ridiculously easy for people to find fundraising training. That's my mission. I go around the world speaking to nonprofits about specifically how to ask for money. My book is called Ask Without Fear, and I just love fundraising. I think it's the biggest privilege we could have in our life. You'll hear that slant through this. I know this is Google Plus for nonprofits, but you'll hear me probably speaking. In fact, I frame the whole thing in terms of donor communications, but I hope you'll be able to take the step back and realize it could be any sorts of communications and the communication process that you'll use for Google Plus. What I want to do too, Twitter handle is Mark A. Pittman, Mark with a C, the initial A, Pittman. What I would like to do in our session today, we have till 10 tonight, right? We've got a number of hours. No, when does this actually officially end? Does anybody know? Is it 4:45? Okay, cool. So we've got an hour, a little less than an hour now. What I want to do is I've got slides that will take us through some very tactical ways that we can use Google Plus in nonprofit communications. I don't know how, I've never given this presentation before, so I don't know how much time we'll have left at the end. I definitely wanted to have time for question and answers, but I'm the kind of speaker that likes to have your questions in the middle. So if you have a question, raise your hand. If you were in the last session, you know that if you're breathing, I might think you have a question because I'm a verbal extrovert that likes to talk, so I figure other people do too. So if I call on you, just feel free to say, no, I'm just breathing, Mark, chill out. And what I'll probably, if you're near the microphone, the Blog World people would like you to speak into the microphone. This is being recorded for posterity. Name that movie. Please be truthful. This is being recorded for posterity. No, I guess I'm getting it a little wrong. Princess Bride. And then the answer that the man in black went was, because he was in the pit of despair. Nobody. Has anybody here watched Princess Bride? All right, so I just butchered the quote, but it's a cool movie, and at least hopefully some of that coolness will shine on me. So speak into the microphone if you could, because it's being recorded for the people that couldn't make it either to the conference or to this session. Or else I'll just repeat the question. Cool? What do you guys want to get out of this? I always like to start with conferences with that. Why are you going to invest the next hour here? What would you hope to get out of this? Yes, John. Okay, anybody else have a better reason to be here? No, John Hayden said why Google Plus isn't Facebook where everybody else is, and Twitter, it's just geeks like Chris Brogan and Guy Kawasaki that's on Google Plus. It's a fair question, good question. Hopefully I'll be able to at least touch on that some. What's that? Oh, you can use the mic. I thought you said I actually have to use the bathroom. No. I was like, well, you don't have to get a permission. There's no hall pass.
I'm actually building our social media strategy for the next fiscal year.
Yay.
And trying to figure out how we can staff and plan for Google+. So I'm trying to get everything I can know about Google+ before we start.
Awesome. That's great. So some strategic planning. Good. Anybody else? Yes. Okay. I loved seeing your guide dog. Yeah. So you work with 4 different nonprofits. So you want to. How many people here are already on Google+? A lot of you. How many people here will use it weekly? Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Just helpful. Good. Okay. So this may seem incredibly practical to you, but I want you to be able to leave here and not that you want to skip Amber Naslin's keynote, but I'd love it that you could be able to polish up your Google. You'd have the desire to get on Google Plus and the ability to do that well. So let's get into this. First of all, I got this keynote in Mexico on Tuesday, and I've never been on the back of a bus. I thought that was really fun. The conference organizers put the 3 speakers on the back of a bus, and my wife was wondering how they knew my age was 39. Why did they put my age over everybody else's? But so I just got a kick out of that, and I wanted you to get a kick too. Okay, cool. Let's get going. Part of the reason I'm glad you're here is because, and it's a little confusing for people because businesses and nonprofits aren't allowed on Google Plus yet. They've restricted it to just be individuals, and you have to be individuals with your real name. So if you're someone like Lynette Young, she's Lynette Radio on all these other things, but she has to be Lynette Young on Google Plus because of the way the Google deities that are controlling this particular space. So they're not allowed to have a presence on it yet, but you as in people are. So that's one of the things that you need to be thinking about. It's not that you can't sign in. In fact, I actually intentionally block nonprofits that circle me that has their nonprofit name because they're not supposed to be using that. It's like Facebook. You're not supposed to have a profile for your nonprofit. You're supposed to have a page. So for Google, there's just not that organizational presence yet. So you need to be in there as individuals. And I think it's actually more powerful for nonprofits to be in there as an individual than it is to be as an organization. How many people blog for their nonprofit or their company right now? A few of you. Do you find it difficult to use corporate voice? Or do you have a good voice, a cool voice for your nonprofit? I can't blog corporately. I've tried doing corporate Twitter accounts. I've tried doing corporate blogs. I feel so stilted and confined. But I can blog as Mark Pittman on behalf of these different things really well. Because then I can put the disclaimer, I'll use it personal or whatever. And so it's easier to be a human being to me than to be a corporation. And I think that's what Google Plus will free you guys up to do. So goal for this session, show you how to get on, show you why you want to. And the way that I talk about, the fundraising process, I've already mentioned that's what I want. So why Google Plus? First of all, you guys probably have all seen the +1 button, right? It says yes. Where I come from is Maine. And up and down is yes, and side to side is no. Okay. Southern India, we were in Southern India, my wife and I, and there's this figurehead waddle thing that's a yes. So it really confused us for a long time. But that's another ground rule. This is a yes. They're putting it across all their platforms. And if you guys are following, I'm not a search SEO expert, but I noticed that most of the search engines are trying to incorporate some aspect of social platforms and social networking into the search results because their job isn't to just get the best keyword ranked word on the front page. Their job is to answer your question. If you put a question in there, they want to answer your question by giving you the most relevant information to you. So they're trying to get any social media kind of touch points that they can. And that's in part happening with Google+. When Google, when you +1 something, it tracks it with your account if you're on Google+, and so it'll start developing kind of intuitively knowing what kind of things you tend to look for and giving you that. Good or bad, that's the way it's happening. I liked it back when it was a little more objective because I wanted to be shown new information, not stuff I already knew or people I already listened to. But this is the way things are moving, so this is a good way to do it. And web search, and then you also see the +1 on blog pages and web pages. This is something that Google seems to be really incorporating across platforms, even to the point where that black bar now is across most of its products, and that has +U if you're not signed into Google+. They seem to be incorporating this much more extensively than Buzz or Wave were. Does anybody remember Buzz and Wave? The coolest thing about Wave to me is that it was in the Firefly. It was like mentioned in Firefly. Did anybody see the Firefly movie video? Okay, some of you, TV show. Wonderful TV show. It only lasted a season or two. But they talk about a wave in there, and that's where Google got the name for it. So most of you are looking glazed, like I just totally geeked out. Sorry, I'll come back to earth. But Google is doing a much better job, I think, at implementing this across platforms than they did with the other things that they've tried social media-wise. The other one is that, okay, so I've already said web search is becoming more social, and Google Plus is definitely being felt as an impact in that. But finally, who's your daddy? Check out your web analytics. How many people know, how many of you have a Google Analytics account that you know about? Oh, I'd love to see that. I don't know if yours is like mine, but mine, more than 50% of the traffic to my site is generated by people searching in Google. Is that similar statistics? The largest, okay. So just out of common sense, if the largest customer is buying my stuff, I'm going to listen to what they're doing. Well, the largest referrer to people helping people find me is doing something this extensive. I want to be part of it. And then if you notice, this was just after I got on Google+, but in the top 10 of people going to fundraisingcoach.com, plus.google.com was the top 10 referrer out of the, when you take out direct traffic. So there is definitely something that's really, it just kind of is a no-brainer to me. Why wouldn't you want to experiment with the people that are helping other people find you? All right, so we're going to break this down now through the 4 steps of fundraising that I teach. I was a Gen Xer. I still am a Gen Xer, as a matter of fact. And I get real with something I heard a lot growing up. When I talk about fundraising, I talk about R, research. You research your cause and you research your prospects. E is for engage. You get to know them. You get to interact with them. A is for asking. You never raise any money or get anything done without an ask of some sort. And then L is for love. And I was born in the 70s, but I'm not a kid of the 70s, so I still have a hard time just saying love, despite Love Train playing beforehand. So sometimes you have to like the people, even if you can't love them. And sometimes you can't even like them, but you have to live with them anyway. Because what we do in nonprofits is all about relationships. And if you can take a no well, or if you can take a refusal of whatever you've asked well, you raise the game. And you stand out in people's mind. If you ask somebody for a donation, they say no, and you treat them with respect and dignity, not a lot of nonprofits are doing that. And so when it comes back around a time where they're thinking of giving, you'll find that no may be really a not yet, not now, and they may give later, as opposed to just a flat out no. But that's going into a different seminar, so I won't go there. All right, so first, researching your cause. It shocks me that when I ask people about fundraising, they don't understand at all what they're fundraising for. How much do you want to raise? They say more is better, is usually the general answer I get. They don't have a specific dollar amount. One of our friends, John and my friends, Estrella Rosenberg, was invited to Europe to speak to a Congress about this Big Love Little Hearts initiative she was doing with helping kids with birth defects, heart defects in Iraq. And so she went there, presented. She didn't know why she was being asked to speak, but after she shared what she was doing, the folks in the small audience for flying her to Europe said, so how much would it cost to do all that? Fortunately, she'd just been working on her taxes and her financial the week before, so she was able to say a specific dollar amount. I don't know what it was, but I'll say it'll cost $17,000 to do this project plus a stipend for myself. And the response she got was, okay, great, we'll send you a check. Thank you so much for coming. It was an audience of venture philanthropists that were looking for places to invest their money. So if you know the dollar amount, I mean, you can't build it, there's no statistics to show how often that's going to happen to you. But if you know the dollar amount, first of all, you have a clear answer for people when they ask you what are you trying to accomplish, what's the needle you're trying to push. But the other thing is you get to measure results. Are we succeeding or are we not? So the first way to do your dollar amount is researching your cause. And Google Plus initially was pretty awful with searches. They didn't do searches very well, which is ironic because it's Google. You thought they would do search as well. But now, like here, yesterday I typed in animal rescue. For people, if you're in a cause is dealing with animals and rescuing them, and they break it up with people. So you can see that there's somebody already violating the rules. ORA, Animal Rescue Organization. That's not really, they're not supposed to be on Google+. The people are supposed to be. In fact, it looks like all the people that came up are breaking the rules. That's very interesting. Okay, well, ignore that. Pretend that I had Joe Smith and Jane, whatever. But you can see the people that use animal rescue at some point in their profiles. And then you can also see the posts. So you start seeing these really impassioned and involved posts because Google+, a lot of Google+ updates are public. And you can start looking at those. It may not be appropriate to necessarily jump into the conversation at that point, but it could be. But it's also just interesting to see how they use the words. That's something that we as nonprofits really need to do. We need to stop speaking our language and start speaking their language. Because we get caught up in our own legalistic lingo and acronyms and all this other stuff. So this is great because researching your cause, you can use Google+ to do that. Listening to what they're saying, and then you guys know this. You're a blog world. I mean, I know you know this. This isn't rocket science. You listen. You invert the funnel. I mean, how many other ways are there to say this? You have to hear what other people are saying about what you're doing. And Google+ is a great place to do that. You can also research your prospects on this, which I think is phenomenal. Part of the reason I love Google+ is Facebook is a closed medium. You have to get permission. LinkedIn is too. You have to be accepted as a friend, be accepted as a connection. Google+, you can just start circling people. So why wouldn't you want it? I mean, if there's people that either fit the demographic that you think is what you're going for, or there are individual people you know that you want to get to know better, you can just circle them. No harm, no foul, just like Twitter. It's very cool. It's also, and again, the powerful searches are there, so you can start looking you can start looking for people based on your geography. If you have a specific kind of catchment area that you do your services in, you can look at it by interest, by name. There's all sorts of different ways that you can help do this research that Google+ is very good at help, it's just well suited for it. So here, like Will Wheaton, if you wanted to get to know Will, I figured this is blog world, there's a higher likelihood that people know who Will is. But look at the way he describes himself. As his employment, he says he was an ensign in Starfleet. That's part of his employment history. And that's really clever that he uses his Star Trek experience as part of his employment history. This stuff is this is gold. If you have a major donor that you're trying to reach or a major influencer that you'd want to talk about your cause, this is great because you can start seeing what they value and what they find in the way they word the stuff. Education, Starfleet Academy, warp field theory and practice, also nanites, 1989 to 1992. So this kind of stuff is kind of humorous and fun, but you also know you're starting to talk to them in the way that they want to be talked about. Yes, John. The comment is, well, as you can see on those slides, Will has some great advice for fundraisers and nonprofit communications right under his name. Yep. I choose to say, instead of don't be a dick, I usually say don't be a Ned. Because you remember the Groundhog Day? That movie? Yeah, I love that. Ned is the life insurance salesman. Ned, whatever. Bill Riley, it's me, Ned the head. And there's a great video. If you Google "Don't Be a Ned" and go to fundraisingcoach.com, I've got a link to a video that comprised all of those Ned scenes together into one clip. And it's scary how much it looks like nonprofits trying to talk at somebody instead of engage with them. But don't be a dick. Okay. Now there's another guy here that you could look at. This is the reason I put my profile up here is because look at the difference. Will's up there. He's got his face. He's got some stuff. He's got some links on the other side. He's got an introduction so he's clearly kind of pimped out his profile a little bit. But I do it differently. I like to have the pictures across there. And so that's something that could be a key to you. What are the pictures that those pictures are static? Those aren't like Facebook where anytime you're tagged it gets shown. These are the pictures the person chooses to put in there. So you can look to see how are they, not only what's their profile picture, do they have one, but also what are the images that they're using to communicate what they do and who they are, because that can give you insight into them. And then there's also, I love this too, that you can see the links. What are the links that people are using to describe themselves? Where can you, as a nonprofit, find out more information about them or people like them? And this one happens to highlight my Empire Avenue ticker, FR Coach. Are you guys, any of you on Empire Avenue? Yeah, thanks. It's kind of like, it's like a self-help group. Yeah, I'm on, yeah. Hi, my name's Mark. I'm on Empire Avenue. I don't do it as much. I tried it, and it's very complicated, but I love the measuring. So you can ask me about that later. They keep scores on different things, and it's kind of fun. But that's something that if you're looking at something, that will be something that you could later on use in the engagement process or the asking to communicate with your donor. What kind of social media tools do you use? Or why do you just gives you more clues, more information. I feel like I'm beating the point. Okay, so there's research things that you can use Google Plus for that's slightly more powerful than, or not more powerful, but that gives a different look, maybe a more personalized look than just a regular Google search would do. Now, engaging is another thing. I thought I came up with this because I said it so much, but I think I got it from Seth Godin. And there's a high likelihood that you guys have read some of Seth's stuff, so I'll say that anyway, even though if it's mine. I think for a lot of nonprofits, when it comes to fundraising, it's like a guy that wants to get married but doesn't have the guts to talk to women. And so he keeps getting older and older, and he starts putting on weight where he doesn't want to and losing hair where he used to have it, and maybe growing somewhere he didn't. And he knows his shelf life is expiring. And then his parents start getting involved. I don't know if you've ever had that, but the parents start putting pressure because they want to have grandkids. When are you going to give us grandkids? So it's just all this internal turmoil building up in this guy, very much like a nonprofit looking for funds. They're scared to ask for money. They don't want to face rejection. They start getting these bills, these external things that are putting pressure on them. They really need to fund their cause. They'd rather just be doing what they started the nonprofit to do. They don't want to have to do this stupid fundraising stuff. So he finally bursts out of the house, runs down the street, plops himself down on a stool at a bar, and turns to the woman next to him and says, "Will you marry me?" And then is shocked when he gets slapped, or just a cold no. And for nonprofits, that's often the case. Well, we put the anonymous or the photocopied flyer in the chamber newsletter. Why didn't anybody donate to us? There's no personalization. There's no getting to know that even the demographic of the person you're trying to communicate with. That's why the engagement step is important. And I think 2008 was very helpful for nonprofits because I think a lot of us had gotten used to getting annual gifts, and so we thought we were communicating well with our donors. But when economic hard times hit, it forces you to figure out your finances a little differently. And so then you can find out who are the people that have really had you on the inner circle, who are the people, the charities that you really feel connected to. And this is what the engagement step helps do too. So with circles, you all have circles, right? Because many of you have Facebook, or I slipped, Google Plus profiles. This is my Blog World Expo circle. There's a couple hundred people in it. I love that this whole circle concept, because think about this. What if you had a circle for your board members? Your board members are all there. If you share a post just with that circle, it can be shared anywhere else. You still have to treat this like it's a postcard, just like most other social media. That's not a closed environment. But it's like a postcard that you send to your board members. So you could be sending them updates. You could be sending them in between meeting things. One of the biggest problems for board members and nonprofits is they feel like there's no communication in between the meetings. And so they get to the meeting and it's all decided already. What if you were able to put in, you just put it as the employee puts in a note to themselves. Yeah, Jeff. Yeah.
You're going to share with a circle, and that circle is going to be able to share with the rest of the world.
Well, that's where the postcard thing comes in. The comment was you're going to share with the circle, and that circle can share with the rest of the world, which is to your benefit as a nonprofit, because most of what we want to do is get the message out there, unless it's some scandal we're trying to cover up. But for the most part, that's a good thing. So you do have to be careful about that. Google has had a setting now where you can restrict that, so it can't be shared, and I've never tried using that because I've never shared anything online that I wouldn't want to be broadcast. Almost. It's locking it, right? Is that what it is? Yeah, so you could lock it to your board if it were something that you... well, you can lock the post. You don't have to lock the circle. You can lock the post. But can you, this would be a great way to work with your board. Another thing that you could do is work with your staff. You can have a staff circle so that you're talking about as cool things happen in your, whether you're dispersed over geography or in the same geographical area, you could be sharing posts and updates and videos and all this other multimedia stuff with your staff. Donors. You could be talking to your donors this way. As people start coming in, it's really easy to see if they're on Google+, and especially you'd probably want to start with major donors because it's a high-touch medium, and sometimes you don't have the resources to devote to the broad base of your fundraising. Your smaller donors at first. It's not that we don't love them. It's just that you have limited resources too, and you want to be a good steward of those. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is it because work emails are being, oh, because Google wants it to be their own email. Okay.
So, how are you?
Okay, so what's your name? Caroline is just hitting on the biggest elephant in the room that I forgot to mention in the first slide. She said, how do you find these people? Because often you can't use your work email yet with Google. You can include other emails when you're doing your profile. That they do allow you to do that. If you're doing your profile, there's also a place to put in other names that people know you by. So if they're searching, like for me, I put in my Twitter handle in that other names place. I thought that was a private. It says it's a private just between you and Google, but it shows up on my wall too. I had somebody call me Captain Obvious recently at a thing. I think it was my kid. And so I put Captain Obvious in there, and other, also known as, and it shows up on the public thing, which is fine. But I think the other thing that Caroline's pointing out is that not everybody's here yet, and it goes back to John's. Well, isn't this the place for geeks only? Google Plus is only, it's not even 6 months old. It's already got tens of millions of people with profiles, but we all know there's a difference between profiles and active users. So they're not all active yet, but I haven't had a problem finding people on Google+. I don't know. I just search by their name, and I'm able to tag them. And even if you're not following them or circling them in the lingo, you can still tag them if you're on a post or something. So it does help. Okay. Yeah, Google Apps is now allowed to use Google+, yeah, which is phenomenal. Yes, sir. Not of circles, no. No, see, that's the beauty of circles. These are totally personal to you. Nobody, I have not, it's a hassle and a half in a way, and I'll illustrate that in a moment because I think what you're touching on. These are, like you can see, my first circle here is the NP tribe. And fortunately now Google lets you move your circles around so you can have them shown the way you want to. My next one is I'm on a board that's working again to rehabilitate women that were rescued out of sex trafficking because Boston's one of the biggest sex trafficking areas in the United States. Ports, anyway, for traveling through. So I have an abolitionist circle. I'm just starting to follow people. And I did that. I searched the term abolitionist, and it turns out there's a ton of people using that term to describe themselves. I had no clue. Up until a few years ago, I thought the abolitionists weren't needed anymore because that was during the Civil War. Just a little PSA. There's more slaves now on Earth than there ever have been in any other time of history. It's an amazing blight on humanity that we need to work against. But, okay, PSA over. I almost went into a rant. Did you see that? The momentum was almost going, but it stopped. So nobody can see where I put them. So many of the people that I have in my circles is in this to-read circle. I want to read their stuff, but I really don't know how else I relate to them. They're not friends. They're not what I consider acquaintances. So it's nice to have them in this kind of like other circle that I can name as goofy as I want to. What you can do in Google+, there's no directory of circles, but there is an ability now to share your circle. So the reason I have this Blog World Expo circle is because I believe it was Lynette Young shared her Blog World Expo circle with everybody else. And so that's, and because she shared that, I was able to either look at the people or just take that whole circle myself and start following them en masse. Does that help? Well, it's people posting saying, I have this really cool circle I want to share with the world. I did that with my abolitionist circle, but it's still, there's not a directory. And I'm glad because I actually have some funky names for some circles and I wouldn't want that to get out. Yeah, sir. Nice. Beautiful. Okay, so for those of you listening, the workaround for sharing circles, if you want to look for a circle, that you could put shared a circle in quotes and then the term that you're looking for. And you can see anybody that publicly posted a circle they shared. That's awesome. Because that's a good way. Because it is easier if somebody else has already curated a circle or created a circle and you know, kind of matured it. Why start from scratch? It's a pain in the neck. I think that's my biggest beef with Google+, was doing that. Just to belabor this circle aspect, prospects and influencers, if you have donors that you want to start getting to know, donors, if you have donors that are giving, not only do you want to see what they're tweeting, but to show that they're worth more to you than their money, that you treat them as a human being, not just as an ATM, you could be resharing the stuff that they're posting. That's a huge benefit. And it's you guys have probably all been, at least on Twitter, having other people start retweeting your stuff, and you start wondering, who the hell is this guy? You know, why is this? I don't understand. There's a guy, Mike AZ, I think it's Mike Arizona, and started doing that. And he was tweeting stuff that wasn't affiliate links, like stuff that would make me money that wasn't going to make him anything. And that definitely got my attention. And so I started following him. It turns out it's been a very fun interaction with this guy that's got similar values. Yes?
Sure.
They don't know who else is in the circle, right? And it will show up in their notifications as, what's your name? Nancy shared a post with you. Exactly. So they won't know who all the other people are in that circle. And which is the beauty in that is for influencers. If you know that there are people that in your sphere are influencers and people you want to get your cause in front of or yourself in front of, you can start following them and developing that relationship. One of the reasons I'm so big on Google Plus right now is it's still an early adopter phase. So some of the people that you can't reach on Facebook or on Twitter anymore because they've maxed out their Facebook limits, and Twitter, they're not listening because there's so much noise in the channel, so they figured out how to manage the flow. You can still reach, especially of the geeks and the influencers that way on Google Plus, and develop that relationship. Yes, sir. Yep. Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. So what happens if Lynette, this is one of the things I think will be changing within, I think, Google+, because I think it irritates us. Lynette shared a circle with me. I imported it basically into my circles Tuesday afternoon. She starts adding and subtracting people on Wednesday. It doesn't affect my circle. I have to start adding people. And another thing it doesn't do, or I think they do this now. Does anybody know? When they first started sharing circles, it didn't include the sharer. So if I shared a circle, I wouldn't be in that circle because I'm not on my own profile. But now I think they do include that person. So it's still, yeah, that part's not perfect yet. Let's not get stuck. One of the things that I think is also cool is it used to be called Huddle. It's now Messenger. All of us, how many people here have a cell phone or mobile phone or however we're calling them now, smartphone? You can communicate with those circles through a Huddle. It's now called Messenger. You can send a text message if they have the app. They have to have that. When you download the mobile app onto your phone, you also download the Messenger app, which I think is such an awful name. Huddle I thought was so much better, but I always think Yahoo Messenger, and that seems like so 1990s or something. But this is a screenshot from Read Write Web when they just turned it to Messenger. And so you can start just developing offline communications with people. It's texts through this platform, but it's based on your circles. So if you had a group of people that were, this is the way you want to communicate with your board, you can, or activists. This could be a great thing for activism. Hey guys, we have this going on over here. We need you to click this link and get the word out, or we need you to make a phone call here. And you've just developed this list of people that want to be activists for your cause. I mean, this is, again, very early stages, but I think there's tremendous potential here. Asking for money, this is really primitive on Google+, and I'm not recommending it yet. I'm a big fan of face-to-face asking. You can get the most money from a face-to-face ask than you can from any other medium. But Deborah Ashkenazi, did I get her name right, John? Did I spell it right? Ashkenazi. Okay, I figured I put too much letters in there. I was watching Inception while I was polishing off these things last night, and that movie just messes with your mind. So sorry, that was just like another. Sorry, Deborah. It's Ask Deborah on Twitter. You can ask her. And if you want, I can email you the PowerPoint of these that has the link to her file. This one guy said, "Circle me and I'll donate 50 cents to the American Red Cross." Let's look at it. I hate this kind of fundraising personally. That's just my own personal preference. I don't like the, every like will give $1 to our cause. I think that's buying influence, and I think that's just cheesy. Anyway, it's not that they're bad. It's just not my style. But it's kind of innovative. This is the first time fundraising that we can find documented fundraising on Google+. And so he shared this. Reshare with your circles. Circle me and I'll donate. He had a cutoff. He's at 12:44 at that point. Cutoff is 7 p.m. Friday. He only ended up raising a few $100 for American Red Cross. But what was interesting was if you go to Deborah's blog, you'll see the comments of other people. He inspired other people to either generate news for the American Red Cross or to start for their own causes themselves. So there's something that there's an activism within this community that's very interesting. And those of you who aren't on Google Plus already actively, you probably don't know that Twitter, you just kind of get tweets back and forth, and you can get into a good conversation and fun jabs at each other and good details too and good links. Facebook, a lot of the comments, in my experience, have been amounting to sort of Me Too's. It's sort of like word version of likes. You'll like the button and say, haha, that's funny, or LOL, or something like that. It's not really more substantive. Google Plus, the comments tend to be really lengthy. And some people are reposting their blog posts in Google Plus because a lot of people don't go to the links that you send when you put them in social platforms. And they're getting very thoughtful, almost blog post type responses back. It's a very interesting thing to see because it doesn't have that same character limitation that the other platforms have. So this is one way you could do this. You could say, donate to this cause. What I would say is drive people to your website. When I work with nonprofits, I say everything you do in social media should be subtly or not subtly driving people back to your website. So if you guys are all going to expand, because all the studies that Blackbot and Network for Good and TrueSense have been doing on social media fundraising show that the bigger donations come on the nonprofit's website. They may give $5 or $10 through a tweet. They may give $15, $20, $25 through a cause on Facebook. The average gift, I think, last statistic I saw was $125 on the website. So you want to drive people back to your website. So that points to, if you're going to do this and have your own profiles, if your employees are going to have their own profiles, you would like them, you can't stipulate this, but it would be really nice to encourage them to have links back to your website too. So that if somebody's looking to say, hey, so I don't know who this Carter Gibson guy is, and they'll click on the link and then they'll start seeing a little bit more about the nonprofit. You can't probably dictate that across the platform, but you can do that yourself anyway if you're invested enough in your cause to do that. So it's primitive. Think of the possibilities. Think of the last time you get an email solicitation. Has everybody here received a request for money through email? This is, okay, raising your hand, thank you. All right. It's just text. There are links. It's a little better than direct mail in some ways, for me anyway, because you can go get information. But if looking at a Google Plus post, you can embed video, you can embed images, you can put links to other people that are influencers in that. There's the multimedia potential in this is phenomenal. I think there's a lot of potential here, and you can restrict who you share it to, so you can test it out to see you can see who's driving. If you're clicking back to your website, you can see if this one particular post drives traffic back. You can also use Bitly or Owly or those type of links too to measure the monitor the success. But I think there's a lot of Google Plus to me feels a little bit more open than Facebook. Facebook seems like the stuff that goes on Facebook is to stay on Facebook, and Google Plus seems like it's a little bit more encouraging people. And maybe if I don't know if that's design or not, but to go outside of it and go back to the other people's sites. And then the last step, holy cow, we're running out of time, is loving our donors. It's the same thing as engaging, but it's on the other end of the gift. Whether they say yes or no, still treating them like human beings. So publicly thanking donors. Has anybody seen the Davidson College video? All right. It was Bennington actually that did the first one I saw, but when I was Googling, this is the one that came up, and it's 5 minutes, which are 4 minutes and 41 seconds, which is an eternity on YouTube. Bad. I thought that was a bad thing. But as I started watching it, I started getting more and more compelled, and I didn't even go to Davidson. They have this school song that they sing, and it has this boom diada, and so they have these people doing different things, and they've reworked the song to be thanking donors too. But it starts out, it's all about thanking donors for your gift to the annual fund because you're allowing all these good things to happen. It's live on YouTube. I don't know, it was posted July of 2009, and it's got 4,000 hits, but I'm sure there's a lot bigger audience from Davidson on that. But can you imagine if that went into a Google Plus platform where it was just more natural to reshare it and laugh? And the number of comments for people that were Davidson alums, it was very cool to see how much they enjoyed it. And this right here is where these two guys are screwing up their lines. They included that in there. That's why it's so long. I guess it's like the president and maybe an old-time prof or something. And there's this blank time, and the guy on the right is saying, the camera's there because you're supposed to be speaking. And so they're laughing at each other and having fun. So that's kind of cool. That's one thing you could do with your donors. Video thanks to specific circles. If you just wanted to restrict a video, you could upload the video into Google+. They've also made it so that you can start using Google+ from YouTube if you're on the YouTube side, which is kind of cool. Just being human is so important, though. We get so caught up in our cause and seriousness of the saving the world that we're trying to do. Does anybody follow Jeremiah? Is it Owang? Is that how you say the name? Oyang? Yeah, look at this. Early on in Google+, July 5th, he shared a crock pot from his office. This is, sometimes I like to do a crock pot in the office. This is pulled chicken. What's your favorite crock pot recipe? I think it keeps going on to say. And he's put in parentheses. I'm trying to just see how a different type of posts get reactions. He got a ton of comments from this one post, and it caught everybody's attention. What we're finding on Google Plus is and it's not surprising at all. It's pictures and videos seem to attract more attention than just text. But that was really cool. A pulled chicken crockpot recipe. People were sharing recipes, links to recipes. It made him seem a lot more human, and nonprofits could definitely do this. Because does anybody you guys remember the Twitter example with the American Red Cross about getting slithered? Do you see this? Yeah, there's you know how we all have, if you have multiple Twitter accounts, it's easy to mistweet. Somebody at like 1:30 in the morning in Chicago said, "Yeah, just found about four more bottles of Midas Touch, Dogfish Head's Midas Touch beer. We're going to get slithered tonight." And then the hashtag was getting slithered. It went out across the American Red Cross Twitter handle, not the personal one. Fortunately, Wendy Harmon had 18 months before said, somebody's going to screw up, and I've got to have a plan for that in place now. And so they spun the whole thing around. We're a passionate bunch of human beings working for the American Red Cross. You don't think of it as people. You think of it as this kind of monolithic pseudo-governmental organization. But all of a sudden, they humanized the whole thing. The person knew to call Wendy up and say, "I really screwed up. Can you help me?" And so they made fun of it. They said things like, "It's okay. In another presentation, I have the tweets, but they said things like, "We've taken the keys away." And then at another point, Wendy put up either on the blog, it crashed the blog post because people kept going to see more. But the blog post was things like, "If you do get slithered, please wait a few hours before you donate blood because we don't want that in the alcohol stream." John, yeah. Yeah, that's the next thing. So Dogfish Head saw this, and they did sort of a pint for a pint sort of gimmick. Thanks for drinking our pints. Please give a pint to the American Red Cross. Dogfish Head beer, great beer, by the way. Apparently, they estimated $250,000 to $500,000 of free advertising from it, and they drove donations. They encouraged lots of people. They did it well too, to say donate to the American Red Cross. This is a good cause. Yeah, Caroline, do this one. Yeah, Dogfish Head. Woo! That's good stuff. And then Hangouts. Okay, so this is the last thing that I wanted to get into, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to do a live Hangout here too. Hangouts are, for me, this is what really caused Google Plus to come alive for me. I love the idea of Hangouts. I don't spend nearly enough time doing them because I get caught up in other things. But how many people have been in a Hangout before? On Google Plus, not just like with your friends in the back room. Okay, good. You can start a Hangout right from there. What Google describes the Hangout as is your front porch. Remember back in the day when we had porches in the front instead of patios in the back? You'd be hanging out on your front porch, And your neighbors would come by and drop in and say hi, and it would be no harm, no foul. And when they left, it wasn't that they were offended or anything. They just did. That's what Google Hangouts are supposed to be. You kind of publicly put out there, hey, I'm hanging out. And then people that can drop in, you can share it with a circle, you can share it with public. And Google's mercifully, it used to be that if nobody hung out with you, it said Mark Pittman hung out with nobody. And that was part of your public timeline. They mercifully removed that. So there's less embarrassment factor now. So it's like the kid in the lunchroom kind of going around hoping that somebody will let them sit with them. You don't have to see that anymore. So, but it's kind of cool. And there's an app for a Chrome extension. I think it's called Hangout Canopy or Canopy Hangout or something like that you can see all the public Hangouts for people that are using that app, which is fun because then you can join in a Hangout instead of risking doing it yourself. But what if you had scheduled ones like office hours? You know that your cause's staff is going to be doing a Hangout, and it's totally free for all. It's like a fireside chat. It's interactive, up to 10 people, unless a Google employee comes in. We had a Google employee jump into one of our Hangouts, and so there were magically 11 people there. Or if you had project updates that were Hangouts, because these can be recorded. This presentation is being recorded by, what's it you use, John? Is it ScreenFlow? Yeah, this is being recorded by ScreenFlow also. So if you had ScreenFlow running on your computer during a Hangout, whatever all happens on the Hangout, you could then republish to YouTube or something else. What's also cool about Hangouts, what if you had a fireside chat with your director? Everybody wants a piece of time with the CEO. Younger donors in particular, in a way that annoys older donors and older staff members. Younger donors feel like, I want to know the leader. Before I make a real initial investment of money, I want to know I can trust the guy or gal that's going to be handling it, because otherwise, I'm not. So they'll give time. We'll do a lot more volunteering than we had been seeing recently. But they'll also want to get this time that used to be restricted to major donors. What if you did that every Monday, the first Monday of every month? There was a fireside chat with your executive director. And you get to have that time. What's brilliant about what Google's doing is you're restricted to 10. I understand that. But they're starting to roll out this ability to broadcast these too. You can already label it. So you can already label your Hangout and give it your branded name. But then you can also broadcast it so even more than those 10 people could see it. And so if you wanted to, if there's a particularly contentious thing happening, you could look very transparent and then stack the deck. So those first 10 people that are coming in are the 10 that will be able to give you the softball questions and not be the cantankerous person in there. This is what a Hangout looks like. You got to choose how you're going to dress. I never really thought about how I dressed in my home office before. Until Hangouts came along, because I'm a bow tie guy, but I don't often wear one to work. My whole commute is downstairs. But I like this one because, so some of the things within this Hangout, you have this chat stream going on, which is the back-end channel, as well as the video channel that's going on. This screen grab was taken by this woman in Florida. And we can share links in here. Sometimes some people's mics don't work, so they just chat and kind of laugh and do things. This woman's camera wasn't working, so before she sent me the picture, she put her Google Plus profile picture in there. But what was incredibly amazing to me, and this is, I don't know any of those people. They invited me to a Hangout. It happened to be at a time that I'm good at. I do fundraising training for nonprofits. She runs an opera. She does the fundraising for an opera house in Florida. She runs outreach for a National Opera Association. And so the prime clients for me, she is in a Baltimore acting company that's got a really cool name that I'm totally not remembering right now. And this is Shoshana, who's also helps arts nonprofits sell tickets and increase ticket sales. I just met a whole bunch of people. I had a wonderful hour, delightful hour conversation with people, brainstorming ways that arts organizations could increase funding, increase revenue, still keep ticket sales manageable, but also add value to maybe boosted sales for some other people, premium content. And it was all because of a Hangout. And it was because I was involved. It came up in my notifications that so-and-so invited you to a Hangout. There's something that's going on here. Again, it's all very nascent, very, very beginning. In an article I wrote on how to do a Hangout, I noticed, do you guys all know Rich Brooks? Do any of you know Rich Brooks? He's like the other guy from Maine. No, Rob Hatch is from Maine too. But Rich Brooks is here, and I noticed that he put his business banner in the background of a video he did for Blog World. So I did that here. I pulled that because I didn't have the bow tie, so at least they knew who I was. And so that's one of the things you can start thinking about too. But Hangouts, I think, are great. Where do you go from here? I'd recommend you go and sign in. I'd recommend you pimp out your profile, kind of like Chris and I were talking about earlier. Later. You don't say you work for self or don't say you work for your organization. You can play with, get on somebody else's computer and search yourself on Google Plus and see what it shows. Because you can play with that script, the descriptive text that shows with people under your name, so it can be a little bit more informative. I would also recommend that you talk about this within your staff and your teams. I think Google Plus is here to stay. I don't know. I didn't know. It was kind of funny. I felt like Chris was taking some of my language. But when I was asked by 20-year-olds about Facebook in 2006, I had to go back to my college and get my alumni email to join because it was just a college thing. I had no idea that 1 in 6 human beings on the planet would be on Facebook for like incredible hours a day. So I'm thrilled to be playing around with Google Plus before organizations are allowed in there because I think this is the time that we can. There's a lot different noise, a lot different chatter, and better communication. Is that any questions on that? And again, I think it says 501 Mission Place. We're tired of seeing people burn out. 501missionplace.com. And then if you give me your business card with a $sign on it, I will. That'll indicate that you want a copy of the PowerPoint slides, and that I can add you to my biweekly newsletter where every other week I send out a free fundraising article, and that's double opt-in though. So if you just want the slides, you can just not opt into the newsletter when I send it. Are there questions here? Or do you guys want to try in the last 5 minutes doing a live demonstration on Google Plus? Which would be better for you, John? Yeah, just so that I can differentiate them from the other ones. Actually, could you put $signs so I know which PowerPoint to send you? Because the other one was a $sign in the last session I just did. Do you guys want to hop on to Google Plus and see it in action? Would that be good? Jeff does? Yes? Okay, let's do that really quickly. So, with the magic of the internets, we can now go to Safari. I'll have to remember to sign out. If somebody could remind me to sign out. This is not my computer. I do use Chrome. Chrome is much better for Google Plus in my experience. There's just much more flexibility and functionality. I do normally. That's why. Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. Oh, I remembered my password. Okay, so this is here we are on Google Plus right now. And this is some people. Bobby Joe Woods is somebody I interact with on Empire Avenue. You'll see the notifications bar. One of the things that's really powerful about Google Plus is the notifications are there across platforms. So it's that little red box reminding you that there's somebody sharing something with you or responding to something you shared. So it's persistently there. This MacBook Pro has a little bit different. Did you start a Hangout, Jeff? Are you? Okay. Okay. So when you do a Hangout, one of the cool things is it gives you, darn, we're going to have to install the plugin. We don't have time for that. I'm going to do it anyway. One of the neat things about the Hangout is it gives you a green room, so you can figure out, did you really want to invite the people you're going to do? Does your hair look good? Does the lighting look like the way you want it to do? I thought that was very nice of the Google folks to give us that. I have no idea if this is going to be allowed to be run. Yeah, I'm not going to waste our time trying to install something on somebody else's computer. But what we can do is go back over here. So, John, you were tagging me in something? Okay. Yeah, you see, John Hayden mentioned you in a post, tagging Mark Pittman and an update for Blog World. So I could +1 it, and I assume that the more posts are +1'd and linked, the more persistent they are in people's news feeds. It's kind of like EdgeRank. It doesn't seem to be as confusing and murky as EdgeRank, but that could be something that's there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
We're talking to our website about. I don't like it when all over the place.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah.
Is it mainstream enough to where we need
So the question is, we want to encourage people to share, and is this now time to add a Google Plus sharing button on your website? I would say yes, because of the search factor. And you can do it if you have a WordPress website like mine. You can just do a very simple +1 thing, just like the like button and the tweet button. It does get confusing and cluttered if you keep adding these things. I would say, what about anybody else? You guys think that this is, Caroline, yeah? Well, could you speak into the mic since you're right there? Thank you. I played by the rules once.
We use all the different buttons on everything, and I wouldn't expect to see really great results with the +1 button. We'll get posts with 500 or 5,000 likes on Facebook and maybe 3 +1s. So most of our content has no +1s, but we put it up there at this point in a way just to look more relevant and just to start the ball rolling.
Well, that's sort of like, if you're using AOL still for your email, I've heard it advised that it's better to get a Gmail account because AOL is so like back then, or Yahoo or Hotmail. And so part of it's looking relevant. I would advise you use your own website for your email, but I won't go there. And so part of it is looking relevant and that you're staying on top of these things. Part of it is just why make it hard to share your stuff? If you're online, you probably want people to see your stuff. So we are now officially out of time. I'm here for the duration. So if you have questions for me, you have questions for John, you can see his pretty face there. And I've got to circle Jeff because I know he's on Google+. If you guys want to add me to your circles, I'd be glad to circle you back. I'm still playing with this. Did this give you, I've never done this before, so let me get some feedback here. Did this help? Okay, a lot of people are good because there's going to be a SurveyMonkey link that's emailed to you after the conference, and it would be great for them to let you let them know that this was a helpful session. Thanks so much for being here. If you have questions, and I got these funky new business cards that I'm thrilled about. They're bow tie cutouts because my fan said I should. So if you'd like one of those, I could mark you also. So thanks so much, everyone. Good job.